Hello and welcome to this episode of Stage of the Game. As always, we have myself, Owen, and then we have Jesse and Tony. And Morgan will join us eventually, maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
Morgan!
Jesse, just pressure her until she finally does it, so that we can finally have our which console is better. Because
You
we
got
all
it,
know the
bud.
PC is better, so we just need to have the argument which console is better.
I'll hassle her. Don't worry.
PC Master Race.
Oh,
I mean,
Tony, I can afford a high performance gaming
I
PC.
can't anymore. So I bought it when I had the money. Anyway,
But this week we're going to be talking about like what defines something that's good in terms of video games and shows. Like what makes a good video game, what makes a good show.
We will definitively give you the definition on this once and for all so you can stop measuring things up to your own criteria and start using ours.
Yes. The answer is it's subjective. There we go.
It's
Show's
subjective.
over. Bye.
Bye-bye.
that's
Thanks
it.
for listening.
Like this is I know specifically in video games discussion is brought up a lot about like what makes a good game, what constitutes as a good game. A lot of people argue like about it, and like obviously the first thing people would probably think of is like, oh well, what did the reviews say? I'm like, well,
Let's snip that.
you can always like a game or a show was poorly reviewed, or you could always hate something that was well reviewed. It's just how it is and goes with people and what they think.
I think a fair example of that for video game. I'm sorry, not for theater is Cats.
Oh, you want to start with cats?
I do. I hate Cats.
I also hate
It's
cats.
such-
It's
it's
my
such a-
least favorite
but it's-
musical.
it
I
is
don't
a
hate
wonderfully
cats.
reviewed. It's a wonderfully reviewed show.
Yes, it is.
Like,
But why?
I don't get it. It's awful. Sorry.
I
But
hate cats.
No, I don't hate. I'm the one person here who doesn't hate cats. I wouldn't say I like cats,
You're definitely not the only person who doesn't hate cats, my friend.
but I don't have the obsession of cats that people seem to have. Like
Hashtag
growing up,
Owen
like
needs
there
a
was
cat.
always like this hype of going to see Cats on Broadway. And I always asked my parents like, why can't we go see Cats on Broadway? And parents were like, you don't want to see cats. I'm like,
because it's awful. Because
And
it's
then-
awful.
but like the
Yeah,
best
well,
advice.
here's my thing about cats.
Yeah.
After you, what's the best advice?
I first time I saw it is because I worked on it, and this is the first
Yes,
time I got
okay.
to see it. The best advice I got was from one of the actors in the show, and it's like if you go in thinking that it's a ballet, it will make so much more sense than
But
if you
it's
go
not.
in thinking it's a musical.
I'm certain that's true.
But it makes much more sense as a ballet than it does as a musical.
But I don't want
It's
to.
not a ballet, but it makes more sense as a
But I don't want to see a ballet. I want to
My
see.
thing
Then
about
don't go
cats
see
is
Cats.
that isn't it better to just watch real cats?
Yes, we can
Because-
all agree on that.
And that's free, and like I have a cat in all locations I'm at, and I enjoy watching
Just go
them.
look at Just enjoy the cat.
The reason Cats feels for me, of course, is because it doesn't have a story, which is not a problem. Owen's right that it's still art, but for me, what makes theater and video games good is the story. When I'm drawn into a video game, it's because of the story and not because of like the button mashing, which in fact is very stressful to mash a button too many times. Not that I don't like difficulty, but that's why I love Dragon Age so much. The story and the characters are so complex.
The lore behind it all.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the things you can find, like the pieces that you can ferret out, all the details that are hidden.
Well, brace yourself for the next Dragon Age because BioWare really shit the bed on their last game. So
Okay. That means they're due. They're due.
I wish that's how that worked. Ugh.
Yeah, me too.
Wish that's how that worked. Oh,
If that was how life worked, then Owen is like gonna win the lottery at any minute.
let's not talk about my
He's had
bad
a
luck
lot
this
of bad
week.
luck.
Let's not talk about it. No one wants to hear about that.
poor boy has had such a bad week.
But like a lot of people, at least in the video game world, and there's at least an aggregate, like when people talk about like video games, it's like a lot of it is into to find like how it's like if you like a video game it's based on how many hours you've put into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I can get behind that.
Mhm.
That's how I know.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people define it as. And
I know that's how a lot of people justify spending money on a video game.
Hmm.
So if you make $10 an hour and it's a $60 game, if you spend more than 6 hours in that game, it's worth it.
Hmm.
So I kind of like that,
Mm.
mostly because that's how I have to pay my bills now. So, but it's kind of hard. But like I think the games that I consider good are the games I play all the time, and I'm pulling up Steam really quick. 717 hours in Civ 6. I think that's a great game. XCOM 2 has got 87 hours. That's great, and I enjoy that game a lot. But
Although
even Old Republic has like 50 hours, like the that old classic game. So I can kind of get behind that.
okay, but I will say that even though the algorithm does seem to have like merit towards it, not like the games that I play the most aren't necessarily my favorite games. I play like the game that I play the most currently is probably Rocket League, and it's a great game. I love it. Not my favorite game.
So bad at it.
Why do you think you play it so much?
I play it so much because it's very simple to get into, and it's like okay, I have this amount of time. I don't need want to get involved into a very high story, a very like story-driven game or something where I have to invest a lot of time into it, or like a multiplayer game where I have to really pay attention and focus a lot on it. Rocket League is very simple. It's very casual, where as long as you're playing on casual, not playing on ranked, which I never do because fuck that, I don't have time for stress like that. But like, if I'm not doing well in a match of Rocket League, I can quit in the middle of it because that's what everyone does in Rocket League. It's like, oh, this game sucks. This like match is like completely one-sided. Bye.
I
no one
suck this
cares.
time. Oh, yeah.
That makes a ton of sense.
So that's my go-to game right now because it's just something that I can like do quickly.
Just bash out.
Yeah. So if I don't have a lot of time, I'll just like play for a little bit, move on to something else.
Yeah.
That makes a
But
ton of
so
sense.
that's probably I have the most hours in that currently, probably, but it's not my favorite game.
But it's not your favorite game. So then what is your favorite game? Which I already know because we've mentioned it many times. But why do you think your favorite games are your favorite games?
Well, Left 4 Dead 2 is probably my favorite game. Well, Left 4 Dead 2 was one of the first things that helped get me into the zombie genre.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a special place in my heart. Because I've played Left 4 Dead 2 with my friend, and we jokingly talked about like how we prepare for a zombie apocalypse. So I picked up the Zombie Survivor Guide by World War Z, and by Max Brooks, and then doing that like in the Zombie Survivor Guide, in the back of it said like also by Max Brooks, check out World War Z, like the zombie book of the zombie war. I'm like, oh, this looks cool, and that's my favorite book. It's so good, love it so much, and so that really piqued my whole zombie thing. And then Left 4 Dead 2 is great too because it's a first person co-op game that's really like team. So such working with together, and I had never really experienced that in a game where you're relying so much on everyone else in it to complete the objective of it, and there's so much replayability in it as well. It's always a lot of fun.
I still haven't played any of them.
Well, unfortunately, the reason I stopped playing it because I play it on console, not on PC,
Right.
and the Xbox servers are just shit at this point. Like it's impossible to get through like a multiplayer match online cleanly because like the lag and like this glitchiness of it is just terrible. So it's just too frustrating at this point. So I'm hoping if nothing else they'll remaster it. But
They might,
knowing Valve,
'cause
maybe not. I don't know.
Valve is such an interesting developer, though, because
Did you hear the new Portal game?
no,
That's not Portal 3.
What?
It's like a Portal map maker kind of thing, but it's like a 2D thing, and it's by some other company, and
okay,
they just loaned out the
that's weird.
they loaned out
Interesting.
Portal IP to another company to make this map making 2D version of Portal. So people,
I mean, okay, but it's kind of like Assassin's Creed tried to do a side scroller sort of thing.
Did they
Really?
really?
Yeah, because
That's so funny.
they banked on the story. It was an assassin based out of China, Imperial China. So everyone was like, okay, that'll be cool. And then it was just a side scroller, and it was neat, but it was all sneaking, and sometimes you have fun in killing things, but that's not the whole point of this one. It's
Right.
sometimes in Assassin's Creed you save and see how many things you can kill before you get killed. It's just like in Skyrim. It's just how long can I survive? So you save the game and then kill everyone in the whole fest and see what happens. But you can't do that in this game. So it was a neat idea, but so what I guess I'm trying to say is the banking on the story is not always the way to go.
But like,
So-
Yeah, it's definitely more to it than that. You're absolutely right.
it also depends on the genre. Like a single player game needs to have a good story. It absolutely
That's
does.
true. Yeah.
If it doesn't, then there's nothing gonna keep me going through the game. Multiplayer doesn't necessarily need to have a good story.
Right.
There
Because
are
it's about
plenty of-
being with other people.
Yeah. Like there are plenty.
That's
of
why
multiplayer
Mario
games that have
Party
great
is so
stories, but there
popular.
are plenty of multiplayers that have terrible stories, but they're just fun to play.
Yeah.
Then there are multiplayer games that have good stories, but the mechanics and the other stuff behind it, once you get into the multiplayer version of it, not so great. Which is why, like, there's some games that focus on multiplayer specifically, like games like Overwatch that don't have a story to it, that are they put all their time and effort into making like a multiplayer game, and they did a great job of that. Then there are times they focus on a single player game, and they put all that effort into the story, the campaign mode, all that. But then you get games that try and do both, and while I
And a lot
appreciate
of the time,
that,
yeah.
a lot of the times something is going to fall flat.
Yeah.
You see
I
it
agree.
even in good games like the Destiny. Like we've run into a lot of times where like we've been like, oh, this story is like, this is kind of rushed. The story was like, especially even the new DLC is.
It's very reminiscent. They made a lot of the same mistakes as the first DLC in Destiny 1. It's kind of grindy. It's kind of boring. The story's not great.
Yeah, no, the original story for like the OG Destiny was not great. It was like notoriously bad.
But then all the DLCs were okay. I mean, the first DLC was weak, but everyone was like, okay, you're trying. So no one was super mad about it. It was super grindy. So it was, hey, you need to turn in 97 things in 1 week. So you just have to do the same thing 17 times, and then you'll be okay. And that's boring after a while.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
I need to give high praise to a game that I feel did a great story and great multiplayer. That's Titanfall 2. If you've been played it, the campaign is really, really good, and fighting like the multiplayer was done really, really well. It was basically a much better version of like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, with like the futuristic warfighting, but it made more sense in this, and also it played a lot better. But the campaign was actually really, really well done too. So it can be done, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right too that I do want different things in a multiplayer game than I want in a one-player game. Because when I'm playing a multiplayer game, which I do not play online because then I'd have to talk to strangers, which sounds
You
exhausting.
don't need to. There's plenty. You can,
You don't have to.
yeah.
But that's true. But if I'm playing a multiplayer game, it's because I'm playing with my friends who are
Yeah.
probably over. And what you want is to like interact with them more than to like. Actually, I don't know. I've never really played a story-based game with friends. Maybe I would like that to really get into something and go through it. But I've had fun playing Mario Party, which is an objectively terrible, terrible game full of terrible mini games. But it's more about just
They're so fun.
being with each other.
And
Sometimes they're
destroying
fun, and sometimes they're
friendships.
like,
No, it
a little
destroys
painful.
friendships. Absolutely. But
You piece
Oh,
of
the
shit.
buttons I've tapped.
you stole everything.
My stars. That's
My
bullshit.
star!
You didn't deserve
Yes,
the
I
green
did.
space star. Fuck you. That's bullshit.
Yeah, just hidden block. A star. Hidden block. 5 coins. And you're like, why?
Wait,
Why is God so cruel?
it's RNGesus. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I never steal stars from anybody.
I am that guy. I steal everything.
I can't.
I rarely
Everything.
win at Mario Party, but just causing chaos is fun too. I'm like, well, I'm doomed, but I shall sow the seeds of chaos to like make things difficult for other people.
I'm going to lose, but I'm going to pick you to lose too.
With me. I'm not going down alone. We usually play with the computer player as well, and we just try to destroy the computer player. Also, I have not played in literally years, but I remember it well.
My sister and I used to do that. We always would play again. It'd be the two of us and then 2 computer players, and one of the other computer players always had to be Peach because my sister would say, "Oh, Peach, you bitch!" And like every time, she just goes,
It's
"You
fun
can't, you
yelling
can't,
at Peach.
you-
Mario
exactly.
Kart 2, you just yell at Peach. Peach,
Exactly. You
fucking
you-
bitch.
you can't yell at Yoshi. You can't yell at anybody
Yoshi
else, but it's Peach.
But
Yoshi's
yeah,
the
you
best.
can
Could
yell
yell
at
at,
Peach all day long.
You can yell at Peach as much as you want.
We made Luigi our CPU. I think that Luigi's the biggest doofus. I don't know what skills he's bringing to the party. At least Peach is running a whole kingdom, I assume.
Is she,
Although not,
She keeps getting
well, she's not
captured.
home a lot. She gets captured a lot.
Clearly, like,
But you know, we mustn't blame the victim.
clearly Toad is running the kingdom.
Yeah.
That'd be
Well,
We all
awesome.
know it's
and
really
Toad-
going.
And Toadette. Give her.
Yeah.
He seems like a down-to-earth guy. He could probably handle that.
And then there's
approachable.
Daisy. Who the fuck is-
Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
so we talked about what makes good.
video games. At least to
Games.
us.
It's to us, and what makes good theater.
It's a big question, a big personal question.
Mm.
What personally would be like your answer?
I don't know.
You're
'Cause
subjecting
I'm-
it.
For
What
me,
kind of
a
show are you
show
drawn to?
that a show that one does is something that I get really invested in, that like I don't like get drawn away from it because of working in theater. You see it like when you're watching a show, you see a lot of things and notice a lot of things that people who necessarily don't work in theater or like aren't as involved in theater are going to notice, like the scenery stuff and like watching stuff being handed off and stuff like that. You can kind of like tell things and stuff like that. So something that like makes me focus on the show itself and not like everything that's going on around it, or like make me wonder like, oh, what time is it? Like, oh, can I like, what time do I have? Which train do I have to catch after this, or something like that?
Yeah, those are definitely
Being
bad
invested
signs.
in the story, being invested in the show itself
Yeah.
is an important thing.
Totally.
And kind of on that regard, I think I'd say a good show to me is a show that I want to keep watching. And it's not necessarily it leaves me wanting more because I love a good resolution in a show. It's that there's nothing else I'd rather be doing at that point.
hmm
It's not the oh well, I could be at home without my pants on. It's
What will I eat for lunch tomorrow?
that kind of thing. It's I don't get taken out as the okay. I want to see where this goes. I want to see. This is a story story. Yes, this is something is happening on the stage that I want to continue to see happen. So it's either the music's really great. I want to hear the next song. The story's really interesting. I want to see how this person sings the next song. It's something like that. So. And I think that's good. I think that's what keeps me going because I'm a very bad theater person. I don't see many shows because, well, I'm poor, and there are a lot of other things that I'd rather be doing.
I don't see shows because I work in shows, and so I don't get to go
That's also
see them.
you don't get-
And they occur when shows occur, and so your free time is.
and that's fair.
always tricky.
That's fair too. But yeah, so
Yeah.
there are only a couple of shows that I haven't gone to see a new work in a very long time. To go see something and take the risk of, wow, this might suck. So I play it safe as a theater goer, which is not great. But
It's true that it's hard to get to the theater, and the theater costs money, and that's always a concern. Accessibility is always a problem. But it's not our topic, so I will not talk more about that. I actually think that one of the things I love about theater is when it's new. And I'm not just like a new work, but when a play surprises me, when it's something different, something that I've never seen before, either in topic or how it's done. I mean, it could be the same show, but done differently. Because that's to me what's beautiful about theater, is that it's alive and that it's changing and that every group of people who touch it make it different. And so, like, I just saw the live version of Follies in the movies with Bridget this weekend. And I had seen Follies on Broadway also with Bridget about 6 years ago when they did it with Bernadette Peters and that excellent crew. And I loved it when I saw it in Broadway. And this version was totally different. And I loved it too. And they just thought about things differently. And it was like so delightful to watch the same play, but in two different, like, very capable hands. And in that way, like, it stays alive and it moves. I felt the same way about Sunny in the Park with George, because I've watched the original movie with Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters again, because she rocks. But
Because you can watch Bernadette Peters
all day, forever,
forever.
until I die. She's a flawless angel, and we live in awe of her constantly. But then I also, with Morgan, who will return to this podcast one day, we stayed up all night to get rush tickets to the new version with Jake Gyllenhaal and Annalie Ashford. I think that's her name. It has 2 A's for sure. And I loved that even more, especially because I felt like it had changed with the times. And they took Act 2 and they made it something that made sense to me today, and not something that was like stuck in a time period I couldn't relate to. And the way that we like let theater grow with us and change with the times feels very important to me. But I also think, and I'll ask you guys this question right after I answer it, but when I think about my favorite musical, which is Merrily We Roll Along, as you both know, which is an unpopular opinion. Oh, do you think so?
I love Merrily We Roll Along.
Me too.
Yeah.
Most people are like, what? The one that closed after 6 performances? And I'm like, yeah, that one. Love it. And when I think about what I love about it, I just relate to it. I relate to it very strongly. And I think that's maybe an argument for like the importance of vast representation on stage, because everybody wants to see themselves and feel like they're not alone, or feel like somebody understands what they're going through. And especially in theater, when it's live and people are doing it in front of you, that can have like a really profound connection that you can't have anywhere else. So why do you think your favorite musicals or plays are your favorite musicals or plays?
My favorite musical is Sweeney Todd.
Whoa! Good pick.
My favorite play that I've seen is probably Sons of the Prophet. My favorite play that I've read is Seascape by Edward Albee.
Nice.
But
Sons of the Prophet rocked, and it's at the theater where I work now.
but yeah, Stephen Karam is amazing. Those shows that I like, because I really like dark theater, because I like
Says the guy who likes zombies.
no, but I like, the reason I like dark theater is because like a good show that's like dark and gritty and stuff like that, especially in theater, it gives you such like this intimate sense of like uncomfortableness that you can't really experience in like unlike you can experience in like real life, but like that's what the good theater like makes you feel emotions. And like, I know there are people who hate going to like shows that like make them feel emotionally uncomfortable. Like, now I go to theater to escape it. I'm like, no,
To feel
this proves that it's good theater. They're doing a great job to make you feel these emotions and stuff. That's really good theater, because that's the point of the show.
I agree.
I got to see.
We can and have argued that, because I
Yes,
see
we have.
because I see it from that. I can see it from the other. You know what? I want to go see something fun. I want to forget.
Don't go see Blackbird. Well, you can't because it's closed, but my God, I don't think I've ever felt more uncomfortable in a show than during that show. Because my God, that topic was difficult to
stomach.
deal with, but it's so good, and it's so like, I know, I like the feeling of like that piece of theater can like draw out such emotion in you, whether it's like uncomfortableness, anger, sadness, or something like that. So
I agree. I mean, that's why I do theater, because there's that hope that maybe you could change people.
Yeah.
And maybe in this moment we're together, we're sharing one experience, and maybe in that moment we could make a difference.
So while like fun theater is like all well and good, and I do enjoy, there's plenty of great theater, amazing theater that's like happy and amazing, just fun loving. I would prefer to go see something necessarily not as fun, which is the complete opposite of my father. My father loves musicals with like bright, happy endings and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
no, I love like something dark and emotional.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think that both camps are totally fine. And it comes
Yes.
back to our first statement, which will definitely be our last statement, which is it's subjective. There
Mhm.
is no wrong answer. Go like what you like as long as it's not like racist or anything. Don't
It's
like
okay to
that.
like what you like, as long
But
as
just
it
like
doesn't
what you
hurt
like.
anybody else.
Exactly, exactly. But I'm with Owen. I find that I don't even super enjoy fluff theater. Actually, at the end of I just saw She Loves Me at Owen's Theater, and at the end of Act One, I like was not super into it yet. I loved the production, but the play, and Bridget was like, "Do you like anything happy?" And I was like, "I don't know."
I don't
Like
know
it made me
anymore.
But
nuts.
it was the end of Act One. There's nothing happy at the end of Act One. Everything is depressing.
Yeah, well, I guess, but the stakes are pretty low.
George got fired. Amalia is left alone. Mr.
Design.
Marachek is supposedly dead.
Yeah, that
He-
was actually the most exciting part for me when he shot himself off stage. I was literally shocked because I thought it was a very light musical.
Spoilers.
But then I was like, he's not. Yeah, well.
Well, if you
It's an
come
oldie,
and
you
see
should
in
know
the
by now.
show, Tony.
Then you know. But and I did actually ultimately like it a lot more than I thought I would by the end of Act Two. But it's true that like when the stakes are low, I'm not super interested. Like I don't have fun having fun. Maybe that's a personal flaw. I have fun going through deep sadness, revelation, human emotion. And no, like I want to earn the fun. It's objective.
Yeah, and I think like jokes that you find in like dark, gritty plays are way
They're
funnier.
funny.
And
Yeah.
they have to be.
And then you're so desperate for it that it just
you
feels
gotta
funny.
earn it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta earn a good laugh
Mhm.
in a dark show.
Yes, you do.
Mhm.
But it's also fun when people are so desperate for it too.
Mhm.
And one of our drafts of Rachel was like so dark, and then there was like finally a joke, and everybody like grasps it so desperately, and they laugh so hard because they're like, please, thank you. I couldn't frown for one moment longer. Yeah, this is the funniest
I
thing of
can't
all.
keep crying.
Yeah.
Tony, what do you think about like what makes a good show for you?
Honestly, probably a solid moral. Is that weird? A solid lesson, and it's not maybe even a theme behind it. Which is kind of hard because like growing up, my absolute favorite, and one day, I'll play the role. I really love Fiddler, and the whole
It's a
message.
great play.
And the whole message of Fiddler is tradition. It's family. It's tradition. It's yeah, and it shows both sides of here's the good and here's the bad, but also at the end of the day, that's what you have, and I like that a lot. Um, a play that comes immediately to mind, either 12 Angry Men or 12 Angry Jurors, depending on how you want to do it. I love, and I want to see a high school do it, which is kind of weird, but I really want to see them do it because that's such a neat lesson at that age.
That's such a lovely way of thinking about a high school production. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say before, I'd like to see it at a high school level. But there's something very noble about that you want the kids to have that experience.
To have that experience
What?
to be a part of it.
Choosing the
Yeah.
show for a high school show based on like the actual merit of the show and not just like what's going to sell tickets.
Right?
What?
Wouldn't that be nice?
That's
Oh my
I mean
God.
for me especially that's always been secondary of you know what, if it's good they'll come. If it's good and we can market it correctly, they'll come.
Tell that to white suburban parents.
Well, that's
Please tell them quickly.
but that would be such a good show to see, or to be for at least for the kids to do, for a high school age kids to be a part of.
Mhm. It always bothered me in high school, like with Jesse, we were in AP English, we were given like Arthur Miller and stuff to like to read, and then like, oh, we're gonna go do these fun whimsical theater pieces. I'm like, but that's not what we're reading. So
Yeah,
why
that's
can't
not
we
what
do
makes
it?
the difference. It's
But,
actually incredible, like the archaic plays that they'll find for high schools to do. Like, what did you were in Arsenic and Old Lace, which I thought was one of the better ones that was
Our
chosen.
Signal Base is pretty good.
But
It's
fun
funny.
It's not bad,
but-
but it's these old shows that I just think it's very interesting. And like Charlie's Aunt, is that what we saw?
Charlie's
That
Aunt.
was horrible. It's horrible. But like, so why do they pick it? Like, why do they pick these? Like, you'd think that you'd want something kids could relate to or learn something from, not just like, here's a whimsical cross-dressing farce from 1700. Enjoy.
Something that
Good
has to be
luck with
approved by the
words."
school board. It has nothing
Yeah,
to do
like, it's
with what
very
the kids are going to
inoffensive.
learn at all.
They're
Mhm.
not learn. And it's not what theater's about. And I think it gives theater this rap of being boring and for old people. And it's neither of those things.
And it shouldn't be either of those things.
No, exactly.
And
That's personally
It's-
why
I'm
I
gonna
hate.
snag my power cord real fast, guys, but keep talking. I'll be right back.
Personally, why I hate when high schoolers do the Crucible.
oh, me too.
Because,
Absolutely.
like, Crucible is
No.
like
Nope.
the Crucible in itself is like really deep and like meaningful and stuff like that. But when high schoolers do it, all they see is, oh, it's a historical piece. Like, but you're missing the subtext and the context
You're
behind
missing-
it.
Everything behind it. There's so much behind it. And no 18-year-old should play John Proctor.
No.
No one under 30 should play John Proctor. It's just that's a very low end of the spectrum there. It should be
no,
much older, but
when they do the Crucible like in high schools, which is done so much, they completely
Yeah.
miss the point of it.
because it's free now, isn't it? I'm
don't
pretty sure it's
know.
public domain now.
Probably.
But even in
But, like, do All My Sons, do Death of a Salesman.
do and even do Shakespeare. It's the because
It would've
then that's
been a
why
disaster
Shakespeare.
if my high school tried to do
True, me
Shakespeare,
me
but-
too. But that's part of
And do Shakespeare
Like
that's
the
not
themes,
Romeo
like I
and
said.
Juliet. For the love of God, do Shakespeare that's not Romeo and Juliet.
Don't
There's so
do
much
Romeo
better
and Juliet,
Shakespeare
ever.
that's not
But-
Romeo and Juliet. Jesus fucking Christ.
but the whole that goes back to me liking themes is the reason that Shakespeare survived so long is because these themes he wrote about were so classic. They're so inherent to the human condition. That's why it's still so good. I was having a
And that's why
conversation.
people rip it off all the time.
Exactly. I was having
Do
a
it again
conversation
and again.
the other day about something I saw online. He goes, "I love how vague Shakespeare was. Can we do King Lear in space? Well, it doesn't say you can't. Can Tybalt be a woman who dresses up like a man? Sure, it doesn't say you can't. It's just it's so good, and there's so much because the theme is there. The theme is there. The words are there, and for basically every show. Some of the themes are awful. Romeo and Juliet. Hey, young people are stupid. Be friends.
But you're right, because you could find anything you almost want in there. There's so much room.
There's
Like, I
so
would
much
love to
room
do
to
Romeo
play.
and Juliet as like a farce, like a really dark comedy.
I would come see that. That'd be so much fun.
Yes.
Guess what? They die at the
Yes,
end.
dead. But you could probably even make that funny, since we all know it's going to happen. It's not like a surprise.
No, and if
The
someone
most
hasn't,
famous
if
tragedy.
someone doesn't know the story of Romeo and Juliet,
then they're a
It's
newborn
their fault.
infant.
yes,
Because they've been very, very sheltered their entire fucking
Yes.
lives.
exactly. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other musicals that come to mind with good themes, but none jump immediately to mind.
Everything written by Stephen Sondheim.
Kinda, but except for Into the Woods.
There are so many themes in Into the Woods. In fact,
I just don't like.
you could,
I
you could
just.
like.
I'm sorry.
It's
Go on your
allowed,
face.
because you are
Um,
allowed to like what you like.
But
But I think it has more themes than almost any other play. It's almost too many themes.
You're allowed to not like it because Bridget's not here.
You're allowed to not like it because you're a person entitled to opinion.
I just
Who
don't.
does it hurt?
I want to like it. I'm sure if I'm involved in a production, I'll hate it less. But I just
That's
don't.
okay. That's okay, Tony.
Mhm.
It's okay. I, of course, love Into the Woods, but we can still be friends because we're mature adults, and who cares? You should watch what you like and like what you like.
So
It's-
basically, we're about 35 minutes in right now. I think this is a good stopping point. But I think basically, play what games you like, see what shows you like.
Don't necessarily read reviews.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
mean, if
Be
you
nice
like,
to people
ultimately
who
like,
don't like the same things as you, too, because, like, that could be a big argument, and just be like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's subjective. There's no objective good thing in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, Probably, like maybe
Trust
kind
your
of.
own
I
opinion.
don't know.
And don't let people tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be true to yourself. Like what you like.
To thine own self be true.
Yes, Shakespeare.
Yeah. End it on Shakespeare. Yeah.
In a house.
Well, thank you all for watching, listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. Who knows what we'll do?
Woo!
We certainly don't.
We don't,
So-
because
We're loose
we
cannons.
keep telling everybody, as we say every week, tell us what you want to hear or
Yes.
see or whatever, because literally no one ever does. If just one person did, maybe we'd do it. But
You could ask us to do literally anything. That's not true.
but seriously, something. No one's
That is
asked us
a-
anything.
That is
Yes,
a
tell us what you
dangerous
like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us something. Say hi. We're lonely.
Yeah. What's a knock knock joke? Think about it.
knock.
Yeah.
We'll do an episode about knock knock jokes.
If that's what you want, people. I know at least two.
Yeah.
I'll tell them slowly.
Thanks again, and
Yep.
we'll see you later. Bye.
Goodbye.